This was and is the command from the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Study, study, study is another one. Both of which I endeavor to follow all the time as we all ought to. What does it mean? How are we to interpret this? One clue, and there are many, is Moorish science. If we are Moorish scientists, then we ought to know that we do not subscribe to the dogma of religion, or the blind faith of others, especially foreign Europeans. We are scientists, or we ought to be. How do we apply our scientific ability from a Moorish perspective? Let's take a look at the science of creation. This is the science of manifestation. Whether we want to admit it or not, we create our world every second of the day. Recognizing that seconds and days is an illusion, let us narrow the science down to the weather. Today there is much manifestation regarding the weather, and we fall into the trap every single time. Remember, every second of every day we create, i.e. manifest. Remember this. Each day, like robots, we, Moors who are supposed to be scientists, watch the square box called a television, and on this box at various times of the day, if not all through the day, there is mass hypnosis, but we will stay focused on the weather. If you can get the science of the weather, you ought to know as scientist that it applies to all areas of one's life, i.e. world. Now, near the fort where I spend much of my time, the weather programming is broadcast in the morning, in the evening, and again later in the night. If you are one of those really asleep Moors and very programmed, you also watch many of the SO news programming that broadcast all day long. On these programmings, the weather person gives the command in a very congenial manner that is very receptive to the people. To ensure the receptiveness, they will usually have a female in the role, depending on if the demographics is more males, and male if the demographics are more female, to ensure the maximum receptiveness of the programming. Remember, the goal is to program at maximum levels. People are told, i.e. programmed, to use their power of focus and bring into existence the very thing they allege they do not want, i.e. the storm, rain, snow, hail, sun. This is done without the people being aware at all. We Moorish scientists ought to know the science of manifestation. If you or we want the most harmonious weather, that's all we need to do is decide to come together at a specific time, either in the same space or just at the same time. At this time we simply need to mentally focus with all our senses, our being, on exactly what we want. Create and repeat a mantra, i.e. invocation of what we want. And if we do this collectively, you will manifest exactly what you want, i.e. great and harmonious weather. It would seem that we have forgotten the instructions of our ancient foremothers and forefathers, and yet at the same time we engage in the science, albeit through the intentional manipulation of the foreign European colonist. Too many Moors think Europeans do not know who we, the Moors, are. You are mistaken. They know us so well they use our own science against us. Because they do study, study, study. They study our ancient foremothers and forefathers, even if we don't. Think about it, my brothers and sister, this is the ultimate study. To sit in quiet contemplation and simply think. The Prophet said, if I can just get you to think, you'd free yourself. Start thinking, studying, 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 and you will find that the degrees rise within you, the first temple, and you will find all the answers to every question you could possibly ask. Islam Familia.